Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Yonci, and of course, this is my channel, Chasing Yonci. I am really excited because today I'm going to be interviewing the one and only Derrex Brady. We're going to be getting into his career as an actor, dabble a little bit into his personal life, and of course, I need to know what the heck he did during quarantine. So stick around. This one you don't want to miss. Hey Derrex, how are you?
I'm well. Thank you, Yonci. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I appreciate you. You said you don't do a ton of interviews, or at least this isn't something that you're comfortable as much doing. So thank you for going outside your comfort zone and letting me grill you within an inch of your life. I
Hey,
just
thank you. Hey, listen, you're gonna help me out because I gotta do a lot of these now, and so I'm gonna get more comfortable doing this with you. So what a right way to do it.
very nice, very nice. All right, so I want to get into. We're going to start off from the top. Obviously, you're an actor, but for those of you who don't necessarily know his story, I want to get into a little bit of the beginnings. Of course, living out here in California, everybody's an actor. Everyone's working on a script. Everyone's, somewhere in the industry or a model. How soon did you know that you wanted to be an actor or at least be in the film industry somewhere?
Early on, I think like in school, I knew I wanted to do it. You know, I was the one that was always cracking jokes or couldn't really stay still or focus. If there was something creative, I was into it, but if not, I kind of faded. I was actually really good at taking tests, but I didn't like homework, so I would always ace the test. But it just kind of showed that it's funny because I think back and I was like, wow, my memory, right? Like I could do the test because I could listen, you know,
Mm.
get it, and I could do well on the test, but for actually doing the work, that was tough for me. So, but I knew I wanted to be an actor, but that wasn't my way through. I used to, a couple of friends and we were dancers and we danced for different artists. A lot of people don't know this. We did it from.
I do remember a scene from Girlfriends where there was some dancing. I might have to cut to it if I have permission from the studio.
That was funny. That was fun with Tracy. Yeah, but yeah. So I got to go on tour and travel the world and go all these different places. And then we did we got a deal off this label. Giorgio was an artist. He was kind of like Prince, and Giorgio got a deal with Interscope, and so we had a deal with Interscope to do a single. But I was like, I'm not a rapper. This is not really what I do. I really want to do acting. And so at the time, Suzanne DePass from like Smart Guy and Sister Sister and all these other things had an idea of they were doing some things and I wanted to like go into acting. And so they started managing me. And I was like, I want to be an actor. And they were like, well, do you have any experience? I was like, no, but I know it's my calling. And all my family was like, you just don't want a job. But I was like, no, I know I can do this. And so I went out for like my first commercial. After just only a few auditions, I booked it. And then it kind of just started rolling.
Nice. Now, did you get nervous when the cameras came up? I mean, because it's one thing to say you want to do something, and it's another to have lights, camera, action, the whole nine.
Yeah, I get nervous easy anyway, but then I didn't really know what I was doing. So I was more nervous because I was so insecure. Like, man, I had the imposter syndrome. Like, they're going to figure me, like, what am I doing here?
You had no formal training, right? It wasn't like you could.
None at all. None at all. I just knew how to make lines real. I just knew how to
Yeah.
say them, And so I remember my first job on this show, Any Day Now, they gave me a mark, and I was like, okay. They were like, so here's your mark. I was like, okay, cool. I had no idea what mark. I didn't know what that meant. So I get out the car. It's my first scene. I get out the car, and they're like, okay, so there's your mark. There's some tape down there. I was like, oh, cool, got it. And they were like, I just need you to open the door and turn.
Yes.
Yonci, I was so embarrassed because they had to leave it because we couldn't do it. I literally get out of the car and I'm like, I turn like a door just to hit it. So
Oh.
bad. It was so
Oh,
bad.
bless your little heart.
But then once we start talking, I was able to make it, real and believable.
Yes.
And
All right, so I'm going to ask you a two-part question.
okay.
First part is, what project are you most proud of where you're just like, man, this was my piece right here? And then the second part of that question is, which part would you not be mad if it got lost forever and no one ever saw it?
That's a good question. That was a good.
Thank you.
Well, listen, and it's not just because it's coming out. The project that I'm most proud of is this series that we have coming out. That is by far, I'm proud of to, participate in a lot of projects, but this one I'm really proud of.
What makes it so special?
It's called Johnson, and what makes it so special is that I've just never been a part of a project where it was about four men and their POV of life as we navigate through relationships and marriages and religion and politics and trying to figure these things out and having real conversation and holding each other accountable when we don't agree with one another, but then also we lifting each other's wings when we do, right? So I've just never had that.
Is the script written by a person of color?
It is. In fact,
so it probably feels very authentic.
there's and it's my brother, man. We've known each other for a while. His name's Deji De La Rey. He created the show, and he and Thomas Jones are the showrunners of the show.
Okay.
And he wrote a couple of the episodes. And then he brought on other people of color to write episodes, like Gino Brooks. Also, we had some great directors, Jackie Stone, Jawan Lee. And then also Deji directed a couple of the episodes. So really people of color on all facets of the show. And it's just effortless when we're doing the dialogue. You can tell someone of color wrote this.
Yes.
And I love the show because we dig deep on some really, as we're making you laugh and entertaining you, we're also dealing with some really, really deep issues too.
You're probably gonna spark a lot of conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Your face just lights up when you talk about the project.
I'm excited about it.
That's good. And I think this is one of the things that I really want people to have in their life, and not just specifically you as an actor, but when you have your thing, like you could be, in the trade industry, or you could be, I don't know, something physical. But when you find your thing that you love to do, it doesn't feel like work, but you just feel so alive. And when you look back on it, you're so proud of it. So I just encourage everybody to just keep searching, no matter how old you are, whatever time in life. It's never too late to make a pivot and do something that you love to do.
Can I also say Philip Smithy is the other fourth guy? So there's Deji LeRae, Thomas Jones, and Philip Smithy, and myself are the leads of the show. And then we have some amazing actresses on the show too.
Okay, perfect.
So I just wanted to say that because I got to get my guy in there.
Yes, of course. And we're also going to come back to it too. So definitely. It's not like, the award ceremony and you forget to thank your wife. It's like, oh my God. Yeah, so we'll definitely circle back.
There we go.
All right, so I'm not gonna forget. What's the other one? Do you have one that you're like?
Forget. I do have a show. There was a show. It's when I first started acting. This is gonna date me, and it's all good. But when I first started acting, I did a show called Roswell. Now they have the remake now. But it was first made. I think it was on the CW. And
I remember. I'm right there with you, sir.
And you know what? I feel like God was like, you're not supposed to do this role. Like, this is not the one. But it was a new show. It was hot. Everybody was like, what is this? And I wanted to be part of it.
Yeah.
And and I remember it was over the Christmas break. And so I had auditioned literally maybe the first couple days into December. And then I went for my callback and they were like, hey, can you play the guitar? I was like, no. Like, because actors a lot of times will say, oh yeah, I could do it. And then they can't. And I was like, no, I cannot. I could play the drums because I had did another film where I played the drums and I was cool. And they were like, okay. So then like 3 weeks goes by. I finally called my manager like before Christmas. I'm like, have we heard anything? Like, is there a no? Long story short, it turns out I did get it. They changed the role from me being a guitarist to being a drummer.
Oh.
It was a great show and I wanted to get on it. So finally I found out I got it. And they changed it for me. And so we did the show, but they wanted us to play the specific song In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins.
Oh, yeah.
And Phil Collins is a crazy drummer. And I just had the hardest time hearing it and trying to play the way he played it.
Right.
And I mean, it was so bad. It was so bad. It was so bad that I would hit this. All that's in there now is just me hitting sticks, going 3, 2, 1, boom, and they cut out of it. They didn't even let me play. It was bad. I was sweating. It was
Do you
bad.
think that someone watching it would know how badly you're doing, or is it just because you knew how badly you were
It's
doing?
just I knew because they cut it out.
Oh, they were like hit the editing floor.
They cut it out. I was in the film, I was in the show, other scenes, but the scene of me playing drums, which I was really excited about, they were like, yeah, nah,
Oh
we're not gonna
no.
do that.
That was the big moment. Yikes, yikes, yikes. Oh
Yeah.
my God. Okay, so what would you say before we end, because we're going to transition a little bit to family, but before we end this little segment on your career, what would you say to somebody who wants a career in Hollywood? Do you have any just blanket advice that maybe you wish you had some years ago?
You know, my advice would be get in class. Get
Mm,
in class, no matter how natural you are and gifted and talented. And because I do think there's intangibles for some actors, like you
yes,
just have it and you just know how to do, but not being able to create layers or have specifics or have intentions in the scene can really make you miss moments, right? And getting in class is going to help you really sharpen that iron of that. You know, I mean, Jordan didn't become Jordan by just being talented. He put in the work.
yeah,
Kobe put in the work. So I think getting in class, and then also you build a network. Issa Rae said something I thought was amazing. She said a lot of times people want to build up,
yep,
right? But the people that are up, it's not that they don't want to help or give love, but the people that are up are the busiest.
yes.
But it's going horizontal. The people that you're rising with that have more time, have more of a schedule, that are closer, that can help you, and they're really talented. And a
And
class can help you with that.
yeah, they're just
Yeah,
hungry. They're also on top ramen. They're all, it's like you have
right.
the fire. I love that quote, and I butcher it all the time, but I love I love that quote, and I love the advice that you gave because it transcends even acting. There is definitely an innate ability that allows people to do certain things, but you should always level up in your craft. And I know for me, like I talk, that's what I do on all my platforms. But it's amazing how having a coach, there are certain things that I didn't realize.
Mhm.
So, certain hook points, especially if you're trying to, if sales is part of what you're doing or you want to introduce something to somebody, there's always room for growth. And I think when you get to that point where you feel like you can't know, you don't know anything, there's nothing else you can know, that's a dangerous place to be. So I definitely think that everybody should always incorporate education to take it to the next level, and just be the highest version that you could be.
I ended up getting. I went to class.
You know where Mark is now.
I know what a mark is now. I know what a mark is now. Yeah, but there's some teachers that I was able to, really put some tools in my bag, from Tasha Smith, Howard Fine, I took from a little bit.
Yeah.
But more recently, Wendy Davis, she really taught me like, what it is to do in a close-up. Because there's things that you aren't even aware of, when you're in a close-up, trying to be all animated and have all that emotion and being all bouncy around, you can't do it. You have to be still. And if
Yes.
you look at the people that really are getting in their bag on those close-ups, they're still.
Yes.
And Wendy Davis is an amazing coach. And she's also a working actress. So that translates to, because it's not someone that they're still doing it and
Yeah.
relate to you. So there's a couple teachers that I got with to really sharpen and, get ready, get my craft right.
That's really good. I had a conversation with a comedian named Doughboy. He was a couple interviews back from
Oh,
you.
I saw that.
Oh, nice. Thank you. And I was just talking, because I love cinematography, but I am a huge critic of acting. And I feel like a lot of times people are good actors for theater,
Mm,
like old school theater where you got to be someone in the back needs to know you're angry. But when you were talking about the close up, I was thinking about some of the best actors that I've seen. Sometimes it's as simple as you seeing them tighten their jaw.
that's
They don't
it.
have to go, they just tighten their jaw and you know what that feels like. It's like, I'm
Yeah,
trying not to say anything, but I'm pissed. And they might even be smiling. But when
yeah,
you can just really emote that, it is the simple stuff. Because for me, it's like I get lost when the person isn't over the top. But when they're so theatrical, I'm reminded constantly, okay, you're an actor and
yeah,
we're watching a movie.
yeah, yeah. You took me out of the scene. Now I see you doing the work. Okay.
Yes. Oh, that's Derrex. Okay. All right, so I'm going to transition you over into family life.
Mhm.
I won't put you on the spot and say how long you have been acting for, but we'll just say it's enough to earn your respect.
Hey, I received that. You know, listen, I've been in the game for a little bit. So I started off as a child actor, and I'll be honest, I went into limbo for about 7 years where I could not get a job. And I think that happens to a lot of actors where they first start off as a, my first series any day now. I was, doing being the child actor, and then I had to like reinvent myself because casting directors see you a certain way
Yeah.
that worked and they're used to seeing this way, and no longer could I play the college kid or the high school kid, and I wasn't in the doorway of playing what's on TV as a man. So I was in limbo, and I was like had to reinvent myself. So I had to like go work out, go put hair on my face, grow my hair. I had to really figure it out because for 7 years I could not. I worked commercially, but
Mm,
theatrically I couldn't get a job,
yeah.
and it was the weirdest thing. And it's sad because there's a lot of talent that can't weather the storm through
Hmm.
periods that end up leaving, but they're so talented, and that makes it tough. That makes it really tough. So yeah.
Interesting that you said that because as you were talking, I keep seeing a comparison to universal truths and you're talking about acting, but you're talking about weathering that storm. Sometimes you're in between phases.
Hmm.
And the ones who are really determined, they look inward and level up. Like you said, maybe it's facial hair, maybe it's getting a bigger chest, maybe it's, taking this training so that I can come back harder and stronger. And I think sometimes when someone has success in the beginning, let's say if it's a business or something like that, they want to just skate on that because, well, this has worked so far, but maybe things are changing. Maybe social media comes along, or maybe, certain things are old school and it's gone by way of, what we don't do anymore. So I think it's really important to not have your ego be so fragile to where, you just, because you could have internalized and been like, screw everybody. They don't know what they're missing. But you're like, what can I change and level up and make them want me? So I think that's awesome. Your stick to itiveness. I like that word. It's admirable. So you are married to a beautiful woman. I see your post, they're very sweet. And you have 4 boys, right?
I do. I do. I
Okay.
have boys. Yeah, my wife Kelly, just beautiful.
Look at his face
Inside
like
and
somebody
out.
talks about it.
Yeah, she is. She is. That's my ride or die. That's my girl. That's my
Showed all
queen.
your teeth when you said her name. I love that.
And then my boys, my son Jared is my firstborn, and then my son Craig, my son Julian, and then my son Logan. So I have 4 boys. We kept trying for a girl, and then finally we were like, okay, God, we tap out. We tap out. We get it. We get it. So yeah.
Nice. And now I believe one of your sons, at least at one point, he was doing a podcast. Is he still doing that?
He's still doing it. I'm so proud of him. Jared Brady, enjoy the podcast. You got to go check it out. He actually had it. I was on the latest one that just dropped. Uh,
Yeah.
I feel kind of cool because he still wants his pops around, so
Yeah.
jump on this. But he's doing really well. I'm just proud of him. And he actually is also, through his production and working with his wife, Shannon, my daughter-in-law, they have this full-on production, and he's really, really stepped up his game as a producer, as a director. I won't say it, but he has a project that he just did, that he just did with one of the legends in the game.
Nice.
And he'll be talking about that later. But yeah, I'm proud of him.
Okay, I'll have to keep it good with you because I do need to step up my production.
Hey, Yonci, I've been seeing you do your thing. I'm so like, I can't say, I feel weird saying proud of you, but I've been watching you for the last couple years. I've been seeing you. We've been connected on Facebook. I just stayed in the cut and really didn't jump in. And then I finally, after a couple years, started making comments. But the way you stay plugged in and the content that you're creating, man, shout out to you.
That's very sweet of you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I swear the Facebook gods love me because they just bring me these awesome people. I swear Facebook is like, who do you need in your life? And then bloop, they just bring you in. And I didn't know how you would respond to the doing the interview, and you were so kind and gracious and willing. I think it's so awesome. I like to, I don't want to say who people compare me to, but I definitely want to make
But
my
now I want to know. Who?
I'll tell you after. She had a talk show for a while, we'll just say. But
Okay.
I feel like there's definitely an opening right now in the world for people to have just real heart to heart conversations similar
Mhm.
to what's going to come up with the show, John. But I like being able to pull things out of people because a lot of times we can relate to one another and sometimes it's like, oh, I'm not so different, I'm not so weird. Or you can draw on their experience. Maybe a young actor is listening and says, oh, okay, maybe this is what I can take from my own experience. So I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Now hopefully your fans can see a little unique side to you that they haven't seen before. All
Yeah.
right, so I want to know what has been the most interesting thing about being a parent. What is something that you really, it doesn't have to be bad, but what is something that you're kind of surprised looking back that maybe before having kids you would have never thought? But being a parent, like what's been the biggest eye opener?
Um, being a parent, I never realized how much fear you could have and how much distrust you could have.
Mm,
Only because, which I don't think is healthy. I led a lot during, the earlies. I led through fear, right?
mm.
And so, where are you going? Who's it? Like, what? I haven't met the parents. Let me go meet them. Let me, you know what I mean? Like, I was engaged, a father. I was there.
Helicopter
I was the helicopter dad. I was. I'm still apologizing to my sons for it. So, but the youngest, he has way more freedom. I really learned on my older sons, and I wish if I could go back and tell myself when I first had my firstborn, I would tell myself, don't sweat the small stuff. Trust that they hear you,
dad.
even though you don't see it in the moment. Because you get a lot of times you're just worried and it could be even from cereal and are they gonna choke on that or they're walking by, are they gonna fall? It's like just relax,
Mm-hmm.
let them be. They're gonna be okay. They're gonna learn. It's all right. It's not the end of the world. And so I learned that about myself. Like I had to really grow in just trusting that they're gonna be okay.
Yeah,
You know?
that's
Yeah.
beautiful. I love that. And it also makes them probably more enjoy life too, because subconsciously it's teaching them to be fearful. I had a friend who I remember, I'm trying to study for college finals for crying out loud. And she calls me practically hysterically. She's like, my car, I pulled over, I'm having car problems, whatever. So I'm like, oh my God, call AAA. She's like, oh no, I did. I'm like, okay, so why are you calling me? She's like, well, I
Like,
can't. Right. She said, I can't drive with a truck driver. And I was like, why not? She's like, he could be a serial killer. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that he wouldn't have a job if people went missing every time,
right.
their
Yeah.
car. But she's like, no, I cannot. This is just too scary. So left my studies like the good bestie and drove her home. And when her mom saw her, she was so relieved. And she said, thank God you did not have my little girl driving with a tow truck driver. He could have been a serial killer. And I was like, this is where she gets it from. Like,
Yeah, that's it. The cycle. It's interesting because on my son's podcast, that was one of the things that he talked about. We talked about this, parenting in fear.
mm,
And he was saying that he was trying really hard to break that cycle because although there's a lot of great attributes that I've given him that he's used, that's one that's really serious that he doesn't want to do. He doesn't want to parent
yeah,
through fear. And I'm so proud of him for thinking about that now,
yes,
right? 'Cause it took me a few years to gather wait a minute, it doesn't have to be this way, right? It's gonna be okay. You don't I was the dad, I'm supposed to pick you up at 10:30. I'm there at 10:11. Like, okay, what we you good? like, you know, and I don't do that now. Like if I go to pick up my son Logan, I'll text him, I'll say, you good? You ready? He'd be like, yeah, we need another 30 minutes. I'll be like, all right.
uh,
I just learned, but it's funny because his older brothers are like, what? Like,
yeah,
how does he get to I wouldn't even
fun.
Yonci, I didn't even let my son go to a school dance until he was a senior. Like it was way extra.
You were
That,
Oh, I couldn't wear spaghetti strap tank tops until I was a senior. I couldn't wear color on my nails until I was a senior. I couldn't go to dances until I was a senior. And then when I did want to go to the senior dance, he wasn't the right face, so I couldn't go. Like they were so strict. And
yeah,
with my kids, I'm just more focused on I want to see that they're good decision makers.
Mm,
So I
mm,
try really hard to let them make their own decisions so that they can see what the consequences are. Because I mean, obviously, I'm not going to like do something crazy that they can't come back from. But I
right,
feel like a lot of times, if we try too much to rein them in, reel them in, they're just obeying because it's us
right.
versus, okay, I feel the weight of this responsibility. If I make this decision, this might be the consequence. If I do this decision,
Yeah,
and I want to do that more so because we're not guaranteed time. So I don't know how long I have with them, and I want
right.
to have that foundation. So I think that's awesome, and I appreciate you sharing. It's very vulnerable what you shared. What would you say? Okay, so from Facebook, because Facebook, like all I talk about is relationships. So, and I love love. And shameless plug, we have four couples have gotten married or at least engaged from that
Wow.
group. So, yeah, it's pretty exciting. Just had one about a month ago propose. Um, but anyway, what advice would you give? Because I'm sure you see all the posts about like who's supposed to pay and what does this mean? After being married for some time,
Mhm.
what would you say to the young guys who are like, I want to be married one day and they're out here dating? What would you say?
I think the important thing is that if you have someone that wants to continue to learn as you do, then you have a chance at something, right? I think one of the things that have helped, my wife and I is that we would go to, marriage retreats, or we would go to some like fun nights, game nights with other couples. We would go to take some classes because what works, the tools that you have and that in year one, those tools they might not necessarily work in year four. They might not necessarily work in year eight. So you got to constantly want to grow and learn. And I think that if whoever the man is, if he can think every day, how can I be better today than I was yesterday? And if who his wife is or his partner, if they could go into it thinking, I want to be better today than I was yesterday, then you're not going to have to worry about so much finger pointing because you're going to both have two people that are trying to working on themselves and then be unified. So I would say go into it with someone that also wants to grow and learn like you do.
I love that. It kind of gave me the goosebumps a little bit. That was really deep because you can go back to your acting advice, how you got your courses and you recommend taking courses.
Mm,
Relationships are living things. And
yeah.
instinctively, when we first meet that person, we have the butterflies and we stay up all night talking, we instinctively water and nourish that relationship because it's exciting. But
Hmm.
then when we get comfortable, not even saying that you hit a bad patch, but you just get comfortable, you don't realize that you're not nourishing the relationship. And
Hmm.
so always growing and always evolving, that is just, it sounds brilliant. And also, I mean, I was married for 12 years. So,
Okay.
and yeah, I say I did a hard time, but you develop like the person that I was when I left at 35 was different than the person I was when I got married at 23. I was a
Hmm.
completely different person. And so I hope that people change, but I know that there's a couple on this show. I think it's called Love and Marriage. I want to say Alabama. It's one of those franchises, but this
Okay.
couple went in and she had an agreement with her husband that she'd be the homemaker, very traditional. I mean, uber traditional. And then as time went on, she just kind of felt lost and she felt like she wanted to have something for herself. And so she went into, I don't know, it might have been real estate or something. It doesn't matter. But she wanted to go into that, but it just threw him into a tailspin because he's like, this is not what I signed up for. I signed up for the wife who's at home making food for the kids and cleaning. And she had to change. So I think that's really good that, both people being flexible that this
Yeah.
person could change and develop, over
That's
time. So
important. That's important. And I think also a lot of times we show up in the beginning to the relationship with our representatives, right? We show up with everything that, laugh at the jokes that are not funny, engage in stuff that's not. And I think like also like try to be as authentic as you can, right? Of course you want to show up and be your best you,
right.
but you don't want to be something that's so where you feel like you're doing this job every day. That's exhausting and you can't keep it up.
I think it's I think the best behavior is okay. Like if you put it that way, it's like being on your best behavior, but not being fraudulent. So
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So it's like if you're not really a morning person, you don't have to pretend like you are, but you also don't have to snap, so it doesn't, it's like finding that balance in between.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to transition a little bit. You did a post a while back saying if you knew what I had overcome, you would smile with me. It was a post about smiling. It was a very sweet caption. So yeah, is there anything you want to share about your history, or like times that have been forced you to get stronger or build character, or things, maybe there's been a time that you felt like you were going to break? Do you have anything you want to share? Because a lot of people watching, they're going through there's some struggles. And so, you seem like you're really thriving now, but you don't always know what's happening behind the person's smile.
Oh man, you know what? I could share it. I went through my wife and I, we went through a tough time. It was in 2008 where the housing market crashed.
Mm,
And so at that time, I think we had 5 properties. We were trying, we were trying to really build a real estate, and our goal was to have one for each one of the kids. And so when they got married, we could sell it off and they could either keep it or sell whatever. Right. And so, but the market crashed. And my first series in a day now that I was on, that had stopped. I went on to do a couple jobs and then it kind of just dried up. Remember I
mhm,
was talking about that limbo I went through? And so I didn't work for like a year and a half, 2 years. I didn't. And so all of our reserves, right? We used up all of our reserves and we had all this property. We had just bought a house for like 1.3 million. It was overlooking Burbank. It was beautiful, 6 bedrooms, 4 baths. It was amazing. But we had another house on the hill that we just left from that was great. And so we were like, look, we're going to sell these properties. We had 2 properties in Colorado Springs. We were able to sell those, but the other ones, we weren't able to sell. And
mm,
so, and I went 2 years without working. So all the reserve we had in our bank, we used. And I think at that time we were literally paying like $22,000 a mortgage a month. Just
oh,
got us, because in my family, I was the first one to really kind of get access to these kind of finances. I didn't have anyone to really learn from,
right.
right? Um, but I was trying to be really wise. And the 2 properties that we thought we could sell easy in Burbank, we couldn't.
Mm,
And it was just tough. And so I went from having high 6 figures in the bank to having, I remember I went to having like $250 to my name. And I just couldn't imagine, like, what are you talking about?
yeah.
Had a paid off Range Rover, had to sell it. You know what I mean? And we just had to figure things out. And I had a couple friends that were like, hey, like, why don't we just have breakfast on Thursday mornings? And let's just kind of talk. Let's get your mind right. They didn't say get your mind right, but they were like, let's just do this on Thursday mornings. And it really helped me because at that time, I didn't know, but I kind of was like, I kind of felt like I put all this stuff on materialistic, my success,
Yes.
right? And I had all the properties, we had the houses, the cars, the wife was at home. it,
Yeah.
it, it was the story, right? And but all that shriveled up, it was done. And I had to figure out, what am I going to do? And I'll tell you this, I'm so grateful to God because it was the one time in my life that honestly, and I'm going to share this for anyone that's going through the storm, I literally thought, am I worth more to my family as a life insurance policy?
Oh,
I really did. I was like, because I'm making all these mistakes, and I don't want to be pulling them through this. But I was able to, wipe my hands. I had some good people in my circle, and I rebuilt and reinvented. And we sold. I remember telling my wife this. I remember I said, speaking of girlfriends, I remember telling my wife this. I said, I prayed about it. I feel like God's telling us, let's go of this house, this $1.3 million house. Let's humble out. Let's go to the house that we can't sell, which is our first house that we bought for like, I think we bought 300,000.
yeah.
And God's telling me, if we let go of this house, I'm gonna start working. And she was like, okay. She was
Oh,
like, I don't care where we live. I don't care if we're in this, $1 million house or if we're in a house for a couple hundred. Like, I want peace and I
mhm.
want you. and I want our kids to be good. And man, that's my ride or die, I'm telling you.
Um,
So we humbled out, Yonci, and we left this house, this big, huge mansion. We went to this small house that we had, humble beginnings, our first house. And 3 weeks later, I booked girlfriends.
wow.
And literally, as I was doing girlfriends, I end up booking this huge movie campaign for the first Transformers that came out, and Michael Bay was the director.
Mm,
And I just started booking again. And because when you're going through the storm, sometimes holding on to things,
yes.
it doesn't allow you to be you. You're not able to show up in places. I couldn't use my instrument. My instrument was emoting and feeling emotion and being able to bring all these things to life, and I had no life.
Yeah.
I remember a friend of mine, the last thing I'll say about this, I had a friend, David Smallwood, and he said something. He took me out to lunch and he said something to me. He said, "Are you in your dream house?" I said, "Well, I thought it was." He goes, "Brother, I've been there." And he goes, "In your dream house, you can dream.
Mm.
And if you're in that house and you're not dreaming, you need to let it go."
Oh, wow.
And it just clicked for me. When he said, when you're in your dream house, you can dream. And I think that's like to everything. If you're
Yes.
in your relationship, then you can dream. If not, then figure out the tools that you can put in place. And if those don't, then you got to figure out what you got to do. But staying in a situation just for the fact of staying in a situation,
Yes.
not going to be any benefit to anyone.
And then when you do get those things and you have the peace of mind, then I think that's the like brilliant thing, because then you can truly enjoy them and you know that they're not defining you. They're just extra things that kind of make life a little bit cooler, you know?
The peace of mind. My friend Scotty told me, he's like, you can't put a price on peace, you know? And after we like let go of all that stuff and I started working again, then we bought another home, but we did it so much wiser. And when we bought our home, we thought, you know what? I don't want to buy a home that I have to be on a big series.
Mm,
Hey, like if I need to go get another job, I I thank the Lord I'm full time and this is what I do. But we got our next home. We're like, look, if I had to go get another job, then I get another job and I could buy it. But being in a house where you're paying an $8,000 mortgage, like, what are
yeah.
you doing? Like, if you can do that. But don't do that and you're on the edge, right?
Yes.
Then you're embodied of that. You're in
Oh,
high.
you're a slave to your house. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so true. And it's like your story is encouraging to me because I'm in that in between. My joy is so full, resources not so full, but it's such a thing about self-discipline. Like last night I treated myself to dinner and that's like a really big deal. I got some crab legs, boiling crab, probably know boiling crab, and some
Okay.
sausage. But I rewarded myself because I've spent so much time cooking. Like, and you learn how to be resourceful. You learn what you really can do without. You learn who's your friend because you're
Mhm.
suddenly saying, no, I can't take that trip with you. No, I can't go to dinner with you. No, I can't do the movies with you. You come
Yeah.
over, you're not eating because I don't have extra. And it just really makes you figure out who you are as a person. And then, having your support system, it really shows you that she's in it for you. And she's not like, if this house is not here, I'm not here. You
Oh
know,
yeah. I mean, she is. And the thing that I appreciate about her, because she trusted me, right? Like as I led, she was like, "You've earned it, so lead. Like, let's go." And but I felt so bad because I had made some bad mistakes. But the thing that I really appreciate about her is she never looked at me, because you can see it in the eyes, even if it's not said. She never looked at me like, "What did you do?
mm,
How did you get us in all these properties? Why did you do?" Because we bought a 1.3 million and then we did 100,000 in construction.
yeah.
Like we were making these moves I thought that were going to be better for the investment, but they were too fast. But she never ever looked at me like, how do we get here? We never argued about what do we do now and how do we never did it. We just, we both just said we got in the mission mode. All right, let's roll up the sleeves, let's go get it. And we built a lot back. And so I'm excited about the things that are ahead. We're getting ready to go take another trip.
Oh,
It's part of for her birthday, so I'm
yeah.
excited. So yeah, it's
I
life
love
is.
that. And happy birthday to you, darling. Give her my love. I want to say this though, because what you said is really a testament to her character. And I think that a lot of the younger women could really take note. I think a lot of times when somebody thinks of a leader, they're putting them on a pedestal in the sense that that person is better than them or knows more. I think
Mhm.
sometimes you can be on a team and you might know more than a leader in a moment. There might be moments where you have something to offer, but when you're a well-rounded person, it's not about your ego.
No.
Sometimes it's about following rank. And
Mm.
people who have been in the military or people who are on the police force, there's an order and a rhyme and a reason to following one person and having them be the leader. Everyone has their role. And it's
Right.
not to say that this person's infallible and they can never make mistakes, but it's just that thing that makes it all go smoothly. So whatever process you went through, I'm sure you learned a ton, but
Oh,
had she added that extra stress and pressure, you might not have learned everything you needed to know because you might have been more frazzled and made more mistakes. So I
mhm.
think, we as women, we have to think about the grace that we want. If we had a boss where we want him jumping down our throat, if we did kind of take a gamble and it went the wrong way, we thought a campaign, was going to do well and it flopped, or if we have kids, are we going to jump down their throat because they didn't do well in a project?
Mhm.
We have to give each other grace. And even though we look at you guys like you're just these perfect superheroes that can do no wrong, you guys are still humans and you do take detours sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll
Look, we're
call it mistakes.
superheroes. We're superheroes, but there's a little mortality to it. So mortality to it. We got blind spots. This is what I'll say though. I'll say one thing about a king. A king can make moves,
Mhm.
absolutely, and is going to be able to build his empire. But the moves that a king can make on the board when he has a queen, and
Ah,
and that's real. I really believe that. That's really real, And so my wife is definitely, we work together, man, and we've been building together.
I love it. I love it. Well, I love seeing couples that are making it. I love Black love, of course. So that's very exciting to see. I want to end with a fictitious relationship. I want to get back to your show that you were glowing about at the beginning, like when you were glowing about your wife.
Yeah,
Talk all about your series. This is an original series called
yeah.
Johnson. It's on Bounce TV. For those of you who want to go watch it, don't fast forward to this interview. Watch the end of this interview. But after this interview, watch it and then come back and watch more of my videos. But talk about the show. Tell people why they should watch it.
It premieres August 1st. I'm really excited about this project. I really am. It's called Johnson, and it stars Thomas Jones, Deji Leray, Philip Smithy, and myself, Derrex Brady. We also have some beautiful actresses on there that are really talented, just extremely talented. Kalila Joy, Terry Victoria is on there, Jessica Luce, and Rosa Acosta is on there. And it's a show that follows four men as they navigate through life, dealing with relationships and dealing with interracial marriage and marriages and dealing with politics and the climate that we're in. And you get to really see that. And so while we're making you laugh and entertain you, we're also dealing with some issues to really inspire conversation, see things from different perspectives. And I say this and I really mean it. I don't think there's anything on the air like this right now. And I think if women really want to know what men are saying when they're just together, this is the show to watch. If you want to know what they're really thinking about, women, what they're really thinking about relationships, what they're really thinking about building, what's funny, what's beautiful, I'm telling you, this is the show. And we say it's men thinking out loud.
I love that. This is definitely in my wheelhouse. I can't wait. I'm gonna make some popcorn. And so we'll have to do something fun in our group. But our Facebook group, we'll have to do something when the episodes come out to kind of recap and talk about our favorite parts. But that's definitely going to be interesting. I want people to follow you on Instagram if they're interested. So I'm going to put the link to your IG in the description
Okay.
below.
All right.
Yeah, but is there anything else you want people to check out or follow? This is
I
your
just, I
opportunity to
mean,
plug.
okay. I mean, I just think the show is lit. I'm telling you, it's litty. It's fire. The pilot episode, I believe, is going to blow a lot of people away. They started dropping the trailers now. And so a lot of our social media pages, as well as Bounce TV, you can see the trailers, and they're also going to start airing them on different stations so you can see it. So the press is dropping now. And I'm telling you, you're going to let it show. The show is like high quality. Deji and Thomas, who are the showrunners of this show, they just really, really went after it. Bounce TV really supported us, really got behind it. And all the people from the crew, from the actors, the cast, everybody has all chips in. And we really, really want to entertain you. So I think the show is going to be hot.
I love it. I love seeing people that I care about enjoying their life. I really get like a secondhand contact high. So just seeing you talk about your relationship just gives me life. Seeing you talk about your projects gives me life. And I see that you're an incredible father as well. That was very apparent in the podcast episode that I did watch, because I did a little bit of my research. So I couldn't come on here totally green. But I want to say thank you so much for joining me. I know this took quite a bit of time out of your day, but you were so gracious, you were so kind and so personable. And so I'm excited that I get to present you to those maybe a couple people who haven't heard of you yet. I don't know if there are any out there anymore, but in case there are people who've been living under a rock, this here is Derrex. All right, guys. So before we go, I want you to take a sneak peek at Johnson.
In elementary school, we all had to line up in alphabetical order for lunch. These guys were next to me because we all had the same last name. These guys are my brothers.
I was calling you because I was wondering if you've seen Greg.
Oh, he's working right now.
So he's with you right now.
I can't hear you.
Okay, bye.
He's just hung up. You believe that?
I sure can. Men don't break the code, girl.
She got you cooking breakfast. She got you home before the street lights come on. What are you running from?
I'm not running, I'm walking fast.
Yeah, well, you're walking fast from the truth. Trust me, man, you don't want to lose that.
You kids these days, y'all get with somebody because they fine or if they got a lot of followers. Fine ain't gonna raise your kids right.
You don't have to fight me on everything.
It's funny how when I don't submit, you see it as a fight.
She's hardly home. Work's a top priority.
Everybody grows. Most people grow apart.
So where are your friends you always come here with? It's really good to see the bond that you guys have. No, real friends, they're rare.
Jarvis needs to hear the truth sometimes, okay? He's been tripping lately.
Your truth isn't Jarvis's truth, Greg.
And I think sometimes we can be overly sensitive. And white people are tired of us talking about this.
Who, like your wife, Lisa?
Things just ain't the same with Greg and me. Like I've changed to something.
Black women weren't checking for me when I didn't have nothing. Now I got something. All of a sudden I sold out.
My mother used to say to me that if you listen to someone long enough, they'll tell you who they really are. I hear you loud and clear.
It is damn hard to find a way to grow together, but you got to concentrate on the simple things you did when you first met. Hold on to them.
What y'all, brothers or something?
That's right. Just different moms and dads.
Johnson, an all-new Bounce original series, premieres August 1st.